Hello and welcome to this special edition of From the South, on the day that Mexico decides on its next president and its political future for the next 6 years. I'm Carla Gonzalez from the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador. So we are moments away from polls closing in these Mexican elections. Voters have been exercising their democratic right throughout the day in what is being called the biggest elections in the country's history. More than 18,000 government posts are up for grabs, ranging from local governments to the presidency. There are 80 million registered voters and millions of ballots have been sent across the country along with international observers. According to all predictions, the election seems set to be a major upset for the ruling political class, with leftist candidate Andrés Manuel López Obrador ahead in this race. And as a possible indicator of a high turnout, voters lining up at a polling station in Mexico City's Iztacalco delegation were told that there were not sufficient ballots for everyone present. Ballots sometimes run out in certain stations that allow people from any part of the country to show up to vote on a first-come, first-served basis. The issue of voter access is a hot topic in Mexico, where previous elections have been hotly contested amidst allegations of fraud.
The ballots are finished and we can vote now. I'm waiting because there aren't many people left in the queue, so maybe if someone has a problem with their card, I may be able to vote. I came from Benito Juárez and Central de Abastos and there's no ballots. They should have at least 1,500. It is really early and we still have the election day ahead, so people coming later are not going to have a chance to vote, and we are a lot of people from outside trying to vote in the city.
The front-runner in this presidential election, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, was the first candidate to cast his vote. He arrived at the Tlalpan polling station an hour before it opened. This is the third time López Obrador has run for the presidency. After losing in previous attempts, he says that vote rigging and electoral manipulation are behind his previous losses. The leftist is leading by more than 20 points in the polls. Presidential candidate Ricardo Anaya cast his ballot in the state of Querétaro with his family by his side. Ricardo Anaya, an ex-leader of the Conservative National Action Party, also known as the PAN, is heading a right-left alliance. The youngest of the four presidential candidates, the 39-year-old rose to prominence when he took over the presidency of the party back in 2015. And the Institutional Revolutionary Party candidate José Antonio Meade voted in Mexico City. He said he was happy to be voting, stating this is an important moment for Mexico to define what it wants for its future. Meade led a campaign seeking to strip politicians of immunity. And Meade's pre-colleague and Mexico's outgoing president, Enrique Peña Nieto, voted in the early afternoon after all three leading candidates cast their ballots. Peña Nieto is seen as one of the most controversial and least popular presidents in the country's history. He began his term with an approval rate of 50%, but it sank as low as 12% by January 2017. After voting, he told reporters that he was pleased with how smoothly the election had gone so far. But the 2018 election has been one of the country's deadliest, with over 130 politicians killed since campaigning began in September.
I vote because the process has transpired and is transpiring in a climate of civility, of harmony, of order. And what is resulting from this entire electoral process will be good for Mexico.
Now for the latest event, let's go live to Mexico City with Telesur correspondent Pablo Perez. Hello, Pablo. There are still a few minutes left until the polls close. How has voting been going on so far?
Well, Carla, there's about 30 minutes to go until the 6 o'clock, the time where officially every voting station has to be closed. But as you rightly mentioned a few seconds ago, there has been this recurring problem in the special voting stations, those that were set on particular places for the foreign students, the travelers, or the people that is away from their registered district to cast their vote. It's a constitutional right for every Mexican to cast their vote, even if they are not at the place they are registered. But the problem is that this voting station only have 750 ballots each. And as you can see here, we still have over 300 people that wants to vote, but there are not enough ballots. And well, this is something that has been seen all over the city, the Mexico City, and in other cities it has been mentioned too as one of the problems, because people want to vote and there are not enough ballots for the people that is away from their districts. Okay, this is one of the many difficulties they are facing. So we have seen them protesting, demonstrating in front of the Electoral National Institute, el INE, y también, and we also have seen them making list of people that say, I am here to vote, but the INE didn't let me, which is, well, something, a citizen initiative organization that has been made right hit on the spot, and well, it is covering one of the Electoral Institute's many faults in this electoral journey.
So now, what is the process after the polls close? And most important, when can we expect results?
Okay, after the voting station closes, the electoral the people that have been, they are citizens, the people that have been selected to man the voting station are going to count the ballots. They have to separate them depending on if they are gonna they are for president, for lawmakers, or for the local elections, and they have to count them each manually. Remember, the ballots are on paper, and they have to be counted manually, and then they are going to be sent to the central office of the Electoral Institute. So there, the functionaries of the workers of the National Electoral Institute are going to count the cards where they are putting the totals of each voting station and add them up one by one. So we are supposed to have a fast check, a fast count around 11:30 o'clock, but that will be only around 30% of the ballot. And then we can have the other preliminary result at around 8 o'clock in the morning, with about 67, 70 to 80% of the ballots counted. But that's just the quick count, not the truly count, and that will be only available until the 4th of this month.
Thank you very much, Pablo, for your time. That was Pablo Perez, our correspondent in Mexico City, and we'll be back with him throughout the day. So let's take a closer look at who the candidates are and what their platforms are.
Andrés Manuel López Obrador, Mexico's leading left-wing candidate, also known as AMLO, is running for the Together We Will Make History coalition. He is leading in the polls by a considerable margin. AMLO is running on a platform against corruption, neoliberal economic policies, as well as the privatization of oil, electricity, and the country's cultural heritage. To fight corruption, he is proposing to eliminate legal protections for high-ranking officials, including the president, and those suspected of corruption. Regarding Mexico's war on drugs, AMLO has said it is necessary to consider amnesties for people who got involved in drug trafficking out of necessity, and reiterated that this would not benefit drug lords. AMLO has stated a commitment to universal healthcare, public education, and food sovereignty. On Mexico's economic model, López Obrador believes the state needs to play a more active role in economic development by promoting access to education, productive change that generate added value, small businesses, and uphold the need to reverse tax benefit for powerful corporations. Ricardo Anaya, lawyer and candidate for the Mexico at the Front coalition, led by the National Action Party, or PAN. To fight corruption, he has endorsed AMLO's proposals to eliminate legal protections enjoyed by the president and other high government officials. However, he is currently involved in a corruption and money laundering scandal. Anaya's political platform also includes a commitment to end insecurity by promoting sports, education, and well-paid jobs. For social development, Anaya proposes the 1,000 Days program, which focuses on the mother and child and provides health and food supplements from pregnancy through until the child's 3rd year. One of his most interesting proposals, which sets him apart from other candidates, is the creation of a universal basic income to reduce inequality and extreme poverty in the country. Jose Antonio Meade, candidate for the Everyone for Mexico coalition formed by the PRI, the Green Party and New Alliance. He has also vowed to eliminate legal protections for high officials investigated for corruption. And, like Anaya, Meade himself is involved in a corruption scandal dating back to 2015, when he was head of Mexico's Social Development Ministry. The candidate has said that he also supports Peña Nieto's internal security law, which has been widely criticized by human rights organizations and activists for the role it gives the army and naval forces in civil security duties. On the social front, Meade has offered to ensure public hospitals are well equipped, widen the reach of free daycare centres, include domestic workers in the social security system, and guarantee women can access loans with no economic requirements. Meade is expected to continue and accelerate the neoliberal economic model of current President Peña Nieto and his PRI party.
A candidate from the ruling Institutional Revolutionary Party, the PRI, running for mayor in the southern municipality of Tixla, reported an attack on his home. Candidate Saúl Nava Astudillo said armed assailants struck during the early hours of the morning. According to Astudillo, he had not received any threats prior to this incident. At least 133 politicians have been murdered in the 9 months leading up to this election, making it the bloodiest campaign in Mexico's history. High-profile politicians became the prime targets. Criminal organizations also resorted to kidnapping and extortion. People on the streets, however, say they are undeterred and the violence will not prevent them from exercising their democratic right.
It has been the bloodiest election in this country, and it's something that worries us. But we have faith that today will run very smoothly.
Because of the number of voters and of candidates running, it's a transcendental change for the country.
Immediately before Election Day, some indigenous communities blocked roads to prevent polling stations from being stalled. They were protesting against the Mexican political system, which they view as having failed them. Residents destroyed campaign signs and set up blockades to prevent the government from delivering ballots. Indigenous leaders in at least 6 towns pledged to also block balloting on Sunday. Some electoral authorities are said to have set up polling stations outside the protesting towns.
We want the National Electoral Institute to abstain from putting polling stations here, because we have the right. It's the same right that politicians have to demand a municipal president, and it's the same right we, the people, have.
If the assembly of a community has decided not to install polling stations, then we must respect it, because assemblies are the maximum authority in our community in order to be able to take action.
A group of artists and intellectuals have launched a campaign called The Day After to call on civil society to take part in politics and ensure the next president-elect works to improve human rights. This is a citizen initiative with no political affiliation that wants the next government to achieve 12 goals related to gender equality, indigenous rights, the fight against violence and corruption, environmental protection, and education. Also, thousands of people from Mexico's LGBTI community joined the country's Pride Parade on Saturday in Mexico City ahead of the election to demand increased political representation and to ask the next president to respect their rights. They said their civil collective has been absent in this electoral campaign.
We asked the next president for standardized rights in the whole country, to recognize same-sex marriage and the right to register our children, access to the healthcare system as lesbians, access to education and job guarantees.
No party took on any commitments for the LGBTI community. We can't allow this democracy to grow and develop itself without us. We demand political representation. We demand our candidates to be clear in their positions. And we demand that Mexico's next president to commit himself to every citizen and to respect the rights of every citizen.
We'll have much more on Mexico in just a moment. Before that, Kijan has the rest of the news.
Thank you, Carla. Now first to football, where the home team has sent the 2010 World Cup winners home. Russia qualified for the quarter-finals, beating Spain in penalty shootouts. Sergei Ignatieff scored the own goal to give Spain the lead in the first half, and then Russia scored a penalty goal in the end of the first half to draw the game. After extra time ended, locked at 1-1, goalkeeper Igor Akinov was Russia's penalty hero, denying Koke and Igor Aspas goals to spark Russian celebrations in Moscow.
There is always a small chance, 1 in a million. We took this chance. The football god was on our side today. Igor Akinfeyev is a hero.
I really enjoy it. Well done to our guys for playing so well. We gave them so much support, and I hope that I helped them to win. I hope they will continue like this and win again.
And Croatia became the 4th team to qualify for the quarterfinals, defeating Denmark also in a penalty shootout. Denmark took the lead in the first minute as Jorgensen scored from close range, but Croatia drew just 3 minutes later from Mandzukic fortuitous strike. Now during the penalty shootout, Croatian midfielder Ivan Rakitic scored the winning goal. And Pope Francis on Sunday once again renewed call for an end to violence in Nicaragua during his weekly prayer. Francis said he continued to pray for the people of Nicaragua, and he praised the efforts made by the bishops of Nicaragua and others for their role in the mediation process of national dialogue.
Dear brothers and sisters, I renew my prayer for the beloved people of Nicaragua, and I would like to join the efforts made by the Bishop of Nicaragua and many people of goodwill in the role of mediation and witness for the ongoing process of national dialogue on the road to democracy.
On Saturday, another opposition demonstration in Nicaragua ended with at least 1 person killed and 11 injured. Thousands of people took part in the Flowers March in the capital city of Managua. There are contradictory reports of who was responsible for the violence. Opposition organizers blamed pro-government forces, but videos circulating on social media claimed hooded opponents may have stolen weapons and fired the shots themselves. And up until April 18th this year, Nicaragua was recognized as one of the safest countries in Latin America, a peaceful atmosphere that was broken after the protest against Daniel Ortega's government began.
The civil war left deep scars on this land of lakes and volcanoes. The road to peace was hard, but that peace lasted for 30 years and fell apart during these 3 months of protests. However, the immense majority of Nicaraguan people want their peace back.
Some local communities are already organizing and giving an eloquent response to the violence. They should be an example at the national level. Members of national dialogue should follow their example. This is mainly a matter of political will.
During recent last days, the violence seems to have decreased, but when the night comes, tension returns to the cities. In this neighborhood of Managua, citizens have created their own patrols to guarantee safety. They use whistles to raise the alarm.
We have suffered several attacks, assaults, robberies. Criminals feel that they are free to attack because of the atmosphere that has been created. We as citizens want to bring back normality. We want to restore our constitutional right to peace, happiness, and our community development.
More and more citizens are joining this initiative as they know that peace is a collective responsibility. The Nicaraguan police is also working to bring back security and stability for Nicaraguans.
We faced maras from El Salvador. Since then, we realized that criminal groups have come from abroad. They have no shame in taking our comrades, burning and torturing them. We believe right-wing groups are using these criminals. I call on all Nicaraguan citizens to stay united and to wake up and face this tragedy. We have been cheated. Some media are reporting fake news and spreading the violence.
The Citizen Security Patrol keeps on alert. Meanwhile, the Nicaraguan government maintains its offer of dialogue as the only possible way to bring back peace and stability.
The Central American System of Integration, SICA, has been meeting in the Dominican Republic. At the top of the agenda was the United States policy on immigration and the crisis in Nicaragua.
The 50th meeting of SICA ended with the presence of 8 member countries. The General Secretary of SICA said the conflicts in Nicaragua and immigration in Central America have to be resolved on the basis of respecting human rights.
We have to insist on an inclusive development process that's fair for everyone and that gives them the opportunity to take care of their families. Another important thing is to ask the U.S. government to treat us like human beings and not like a security problem.
The meeting discussed migration, foreign trade, and integration, the dialogue between public and private sectors, and the violence in Nicaragua.
We think that what we are asking from the U.S. government and what they have suggested to us will make things better. They recommend we carry out awareness campaigns among our people, and we recommend that they think about a complete immigration reform.
The Dominican president, Danilo Medina, warned of the region's vulnerability to climate change and handed over the presidency of the group to Belize.
For me, it is an honor to turn the presidency of SICA to our brothers from Belize. We are very sorry that Prime Minister Dean Barrow couldn't be here with us because of health issues, but we know that SICA is in good hands.
At the end of the meeting, members discussed possible solutions to the crisis in Nicaragua.
The united position of our group, contained in the declaration we are publishing, is that Nicaragua needs an open dialogue with all sectors of society to resolve its crisis. The government has accepted that the dialogue can touch on any issue brought up by the opposition, as long as this is through dialogue and not force.
During the meeting, the member countries agreed to draw up a proposal to improve relations with foreign actors, to improve communication with its citizens, and to develop a plan to evaluate the causes and consequences of migration.
And the LGBT community in Nicaragua chose the new Miss Gay 2018-2019. 17 trans women vied for the crown in an event that promoted LGBTI visibility and rights and also urged the end of discrimination. Participants also called for an end to violence in the country that has left 174 people dead, according to the Truth, Justice and Peace Commission. And in Ecuador, thousands turned out for gay pride celebrations on Saturday. But for one couple, the day held a more special meaning. Last month, Ecuador's constitutional court voted in favor of allowing a female same-sex couple to list both their names on their children's birth certificates. It was the end of a 6-year battle for Satya, who is the daughter of Nicola Rothon and Helen Bicknell, two British women living in Ecuador who are in a civil union and conceived their child through artificial insemination.
With everyone, we're really happy for the sentence that we received, that we can register the children with 2 of our names, and we're happy to be here celebrating today.
Yeah, we're really happy to be here with thousands of people in Quito celebrating this really great day for the whole of our family and for Ecuador.
And police say a tour boat with 12 people on board exploded off the coast of Exuma in Bahamas on Saturday. 1 person was killed and at least 9 others were hurt. Officials say 10 of the passengers were American. There is no word yet what caused the explosion. It's been a busy weekend for the Coast Guard. After searching for almost a day, they found a Norwegian cruise line crew member alive off the coast of Cuba. He'd fallen overboard a day earlier. And in the U.S., clashes between anti-fascist and right-wing marchers in the U.S. city of Portland, Oregon, sent 4 people to the hospital, including a police officer, and it led to the arrest of 4 others. That's according to authorities. Members of the right-wing Patriot Prayer Group and the counter-protesters faced off at a downtown park. One newspaper reported that the Antifa group began throwing projectiles such as fireworks, eggs, rocks, and bottles at the right-wing protesters. Patriot Prayer founder Joey Gibson is running for the U.S. Senate.
And they were throwing rocks and they were throwing bottles. You need to tell the truth. No one on our side did anything violent. Everything was self-defense. You guys have to stop it because you're encouraging these people to come down here and try to murder us.
And that's it for me. Back to you, Carla.
Thank you very much, Kijan. So we have just a few minutes to go until the polls close in these crucial elections in Mexico. We are now going to show you some live pictures from Acapulco, where people were voting earlier. So as we said, if there are still people lining up to vote at 6 p.m. local time, the election authorities say they will be able to cast their ballots. And as we're waiting for election day to come to an end, let's remember that humor plays a big part in Mexican political culture, and cartoonists play an important role in expressing the people's opinions and criticisms.
Political cartoonists are considered true political and social critics. They practice journalism with humor through their drawings. They say that the electoral campaigns, dirty wars, and aggression against candidates give them plenty to work with for their cartoons.
This situation is a paradise for a cartoonist, but we are also citizens, so on the other hand, it's really concerning.
Every day, they make people laugh while reflecting on rife abuse of power, always taking care to use humor that makes the real issues accessible to the readers.
My job is to laugh at politicians, bankers, some businessmen, and everyone who's trying to fool us and lie to us, not at the regular people.
In order to make political cartoons, it is necessary to be a good journalist. Their work often talks about corruption and bribing, so fact-checking is important.
Writing lies is useless. Humor needs to be about strong facts. That awakens the citizens' awareness. I think that if we motivate people to denounce corruption, then we're an important part of Mexico's journalism.
Cartoons have evolved over time, from newspapers to social networks. For this cartoonist, that's something positive.
In some way, we are helping democracy through media. We don't know how long it will last, but we know that it is important for society. What we've done has been very important in this electoral process.
Mexico has a long history of political cartoons, during which almost no candidate or president has been safe from critics.
We'll take a break now, but we'll be back with more on the Mexican elections in just a minute. Don't go away. Mexico.
Un, dos.
Of Mexico.
¿Sigo? Sí. Un, dos, tres. Un, dos, tres. Un, dos, tres.